New Clinton campaign emails released by WikiLeaks on Monday show a progressive organization advocating against a living wage. Now, this is from The Intercept. Z. Jalani wrote this article. And it points out how in this email, in April of 2015, Mayor Bill de Blasio sent an email to the Clinton campaign chairman, John Podesta, campaign manager Robbie Mook, and longtime Clinton aide and CAP chief Neera Tanden. Basically, this is a preview of an email that he would later send out describing the progressive agenda that he planned to promote. Now, this email reads as follows. Following up with my conversations with each of you last week, I want to keep you updated on the next steps in our efforts to organize progressives nationally to take on income inequality. Well, gee, that sounds great, right? Getting together, tackling a big issue. Now, this email says, let's see, should we care about this? Asked John Podesta. And this is the policy agenda laid out in the email that included a $15 federal minimum wage. Tanden had apparently shrugged off the email. Quote, substantively, we have not supported $15. You will get a fair number of liberal economists who will say it will lose jobs. Most of the rest seems fine. Obviously, trade sticks out. Politically, we are not getting any pressure to join this from our end. I leave it to you guys to judge what that means for you, but I'm not sweating it. Now, when this email was sent, it was just 2 weeks after thousands of workers in over 200 cities took part in a demonstration, Fight for 15. Asking for $15 an hour, which is a living wage. Now, the Center for American Progress has actually been under some increased scrutiny, increased criticism, who see it as less of a center for progressive reform, and more of a Hillary Clinton backed center. Clinton senior aide Jake Sullivan, who Podesta included in his original reply, replied back that John Podesta and the Red Army want to support $15 an hour. Really? The Red Army? We're going to talk about the Red Army? Tanden ended the email thread writing back, and when you say Red Army, you mean the base of the Democratic Party, right? I just want to be clear here. The Red Army, progressives. Essentially, look, when I hear the words Red Army, obviously I think, are they calling us communists for wanting a living wage? Remember, $15 is the minimum that you can actually live on in a lot of places. So actually wanting to make enough money to survive makes you a communist. These are Democratic emails. Yeah, okay, great. Now, you guys know that Clinton during the primary, she was like, oh, $15 is too much. Let's go with $12. Look, $12 is better than $10, which was floated by Barack Obama, and certainly a lot better than $7.25. But it's not a living wage, which is what this country desperately needs. So she was against that, right, until the end of the primary when she adopted Bernie Sanders' position. Now, here's the thing, right? Now, Tanden, who was an appointee to the Clinton, to the platform committee, appointed by Clinton, well, she actually helped pass the $15 platform, or the wage into the platform that the Democrats are supposed to run on. Now, of course, that makes me suspicious, because she was not for $15 minimum wage. She's for a $12 minimum wage. And now she's like, yeah, we'll put it in the platform. Well, the platform is non-binding, so if Hillary Clinton wanted to, she could run on $12 an hour, and, well, we couldn't really do anything about it. So much for the Center for American Progress. Now, look, if you want to raise the minimum wage, this is a slam dunk, okay? Because there's a poll. There's plenty of polls that show a lot of support for the minimum wage. Now, there was one back in April, for example, that showed 66% of Americans support a $10 minimum wage. 59% support $12, which was Hillary Clinton's position, and 48% support $15. Okay, so at that point, April, half of all Americans were on board a $15 minimum wage. And over 2/3 of Americans want at least some sort of increase. And they, of course, they want it tied to inflation as well. Now, there's a Pew poll that was conducted back in August. Now, there's a difference, April and August, right? Bernie Sanders ran an incredibly progressive campaign. He got this issue in the forefront. And did that change perceptions? It turns out, yes, it did. 58% of Americans polled in a Pew poll that was conducted that asked, would you favor or oppose an increase in the federal minimum wage from $7.25 to $15 an hour? 58% of Americans said yes, we're in favor of this. So that's even more. It went from 48 to 58. I know it's just one poll, but there are other polls that match this, all right, that match some sort of increase for the $15 minimum wage. There was a poll in California that had a lot of support for raising the federal minimum wage from the current $7.25 to $15 an hour, that had 59% of people in favor of raising the minimum wage. And look, let's be honest, the polls say this, and also the success of Bernie Sanders also points to a $15 living wage being incredibly popular. I mean, that's one of the many reasons that people flock to Bernie Sanders in the first place. And yet here's a supposed progressive organization saying, no, we can't support $15 an hour because there might be some job losses. Let's support $12 an hour instead. But since it was so popular among progressives that Clinton desperately needs the court to win, she adopted it and it was put in the Democratic platform. However, like I mentioned before, it doesn't necessarily mean that she'll stick by that. And see, that's always been the concern for Hillary Clinton. The concern with Trump, of course, is that he doesn't support a living wage or minimum wage at all. Doesn't support a federal minimum wage. $12, no. $10, nope. Basically, let's give it over to the states. So if Alabama wants to get rid of the minimum wage for good, well, go ahead. There's no minimum wage in Alabama. Well, guess what's going to happen to all the other wages? It's going to drive it down because all the businesses are going to flock to Alabama. And look, I want to give you this contrast. Not to say, oh, vote for Hillary. No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that while both candidates are shitty on this issue, one is less shitty. One is a lot less shitty and actually does want to give an increase. Is it enough? Absolutely not. Should we continue to fight for 15? Hell fucking yes. But $12? Better than no increase. Better than no minimum wage. Now, of all the candidates that are running, and I realize that there are 4 that are running, Jill Stein is undoubtedly the best on this issue. Why? Because she's 100% for a federal living wage, $15 an hour, and you can actually trust her to do it if she ever got into office. She would try to implement it. So of these 4 candidates, we actually do have a progressive option. Do I think that she has a chance of winning? No. But if she did, you would know that she would at least try to do this. Unlike Clinton, where there's a lot of uncertainty on whether or not she would actually try to pass a living wage. It's in the platform, but it doesn't necessarily mean that she'll try to do it. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.